But where's the proof? Like some people might think like, yeah, it's just a nice story that you all want to believe in lah. That Christmas story of like God come to be with you and then His ministry after that. Like maybe it's like this entire faith. It's just a nice story you want to believe in.
Hi guys, so welcome back to another episode of TBH. So as you can tell, our set is looking a little bit different because we're going to talk about Christmas! Why is it so important to prepare?
Like what's the big deal, right? Such that we need to actually
prepare. Like if we compare it to his like birthdays, right? For our friends' birthdays, like we celebrate like happy birthday, we're so glad you're born. Like why specifically for Jesus, we must go through like maybe Advent? To like, why can't we just like celebrate on Christmas Day itself? Happy birthday, Jesus! We love you, and then that's it.
It's one of the events that is very significant in our faith, but it's not just celebrated like within the church walls. It's something that is also a cultural phenomenon. That like this is a cultural event, not just a theological event, right? The whole world kind of like celebrates Christmas, and I think that makes Christmas very, very special, that it transcends like beyond the walls of the church. To me, it's a good thing. I do view the fact that the whole world celebrates with us as a wonderful thing. Like whereas for like Good Friday or like Easter, it tends to be a celebration that's kept within the walls of the church. But for Christmas, Christians celebrate it liturgically, but the whole world also celebrates it in a cultural way. And sometimes that's a good thing, and that's sometimes also not so much a good thing, because it can blur the lines, and you can sort of like get swept up with the cultural celebration until you're not very sure that the actions or the rituals or the things that we go through, is it cultural, or is it something that is born out of our faith? And that can be where the confusion, or sometimes the sense the frenzy that we feel, the need to buy presents, that we get very stressed out and we get fatigued and we are very tired by the time we reach Christmas. It's not necessarily the Christmas itself, but how the world sort of like celebrates it, and we are swept up in this. So whereas it's a good thing in the sense that the world have a sense of what Christmas is, it's very important for us as Christians to make sure that our focus on Christ. We need to clear away some of these, cultural influences of Christmas to go to the really crux of it. And I think it takes time to do that. If you don't want to take things for granted, then you kind of like need to take time to sort of like sip in it, like tea. The longer you sip a tea in water, you warm up, the tea gets more and more flavorful. So if you only like put in a bit only like on Christmas morning, then you only get a bit only lah. But if you sort of like take the whole Advent to sort of like steep the Christmas message, then by the time you reach Christmas, you got a nice, delicious, warm cup of meaning when it comes to Christmas. So I think Advent is the church giving us the opportunity to really sip into the meaning and the significance of what Christmas is to our faith. Yeah.
I think sometimes, I feel like the build up, right, is great, right? So like we say, okay, like now is the time we need to like prepare our hearts, make way for the Lord, that kind of thing. But then, so then there's always that build up, right? Then Christmas Day then.
Technically for the Catholic person, every Mass you attend to is a Christmas. Right? We sing the Gloria. And then the word becomes flesh in front of us, right? Actually, the season of Advent is really a call for the church to its members, a challenge for us to learn how to receive Christ, right? But it's not that we only receive Christ once a year. We receive Him every Mass we go to, right? But in that season, we are called to specifically focus, right, on the virtue, on our prayer life, so that we get better at it. Every time we do it, we get better. Right? But it's sort of like you're training up for a marathon event. Yeah, but after the marathon's over, it's not like you lose your muscles, right? It's not like you stop learning how to run or your stamina disappears overnight. Yeah, you've learned the habits that you practice during Advent, and then you're called to carry them over into ordinary time. Yeah.
I think we need to separate maybe the hype of Christmas and the significance and truth of Christmas. So there's a drop in the hype. Maybe because the whole world is sort of like in some sense is also creating that hype so that we can go and shop and then, but once the Christmas season is over, people don't give gifts anymore. There's no more reason to sort of like put out the lights. In fact, there's some places where on Christmas Chinese New Year, the Chinese New Year lights go up straight away, right? Next
the
day,
Chinese New Year
yeah.
songs already, you know.
Exactly.
Now, eh.
Now.
Yeah.
Now! I think Chinese New Year very close now.
Yeah,
Like, it's in January. So I already heard it in a coffee shop that day. I was like, are you serious? You're not even at Christmas yet.
Yeah. So I mean, there's the hype lah, right? I mean, like it's also the same as you get when you have your wedding or you get married, right? On the wedding day itself, there is this great sense of like joy and there's a hype. There's everyone's there, everyone's like celebrating. But the next day you start your marriage. Right? The wedding day is over, but you start your marriage. And marriage is not the celebrations and the decorations and all this kind of thing. It's the relationship that you have with your wife that you begin a new journey with. Similarly for Christmas, it's the reminder that we are celebrating Emmanuel, like God with us. And so the next day, when the celebration and all the hype and all the decoration comes down, the relationship with God remains, and that's the thing that continues to be constant, with or without the hype, with or without the feelings, right? That reality that God is with me continues in the everyday life. Yeah, so I think it's kind of like important to separate the hype from the reality of what Christmas brings. Yeah.
I think for some people, they might question like, okay, yeah, you know, in Jesus' lifetime, right, his death and resurrection was like the climax, right? So why do we even need to celebrate his birthday?
And not just celebrate, right? Like to put in so much preparation for it. Like it's back to Michi's question just now also. Like we don't prepare for someone's birthday. Like I don't prepare, for example, for Michi's birthday to come, right? So
Okay.
but so why must I prepare for Jesus' coming?
It just
What's the big deal?
it may seem also a bit like egoistical,
Yeah.
you know, like,
Yeah.
oh, like celebrate my birthday kind of thing. I mean, if let's say you're a non-believer, like
Yeah.
basically like,
What's the big deal?
yeah, what's the big deal?
Yeah.
Like, why everybody must celebrate your birthday? Like,
Yeah.
if like those I'm not into birthdays, then it's like,
Yeah,
it's
that's
But then at the
true.
same time, right? Then why they so into Christmas also?
think
Yeah,
we're-
actually,
yeah,
I feel a bit torn because I do think there's a part of me that's like, oh yeah, it's quite nice, right? There's suddenly like in this time of the year, the world is celebrating a part of your faith. But another part of me is like, you know, from January to November, you don't believe in Jesus. In December, suddenly you believe,
I don't know whether the fact that the whole world celebrates Christmas, whether or not they are Christ focused or not, is the fact that the message of Christmas is one that has a universal appeal, you know, one that resonates with like all of humanity, and that's what makes Christmas very, very special. For us, we celebrate our birthdays, you know, it's not a big deal because, you know, we're just human beings and there are billions and billions and billions and billions of human beings. So what's one another? But the unique thing about Christ's birth is you have something that happens in history that has never happened before and will never happen again. A very cosmically significant event, which is God breaking into human history and then taking on flesh and becoming man. It's like God, you know, the one that created the universe, flung stars into space, the one that made, you know, everything. He come and take on like human flesh. It's an incredibly mind-boggling event. Why would God do that? And the fact that he does it because he wants to be closer to us, it's more than just celebrating a birthday. We are celebrating a cosmic event, you know, of not just spiritual significance, but it has significance for all human beings. It's like an open invitation to like the whole world. I have come not just for the Jews, I've come not just for believers, I've come for everyone. You know, everyone. The technical term is open Joe lah, right? It's an open Joe. Everyone is invited. I think that's why Christmas is celebrated by everyone, because I think God wanted it to be that way, because it's an invitation to everyone, whether or not you believe. Right? He came for everyone.
Yeah, I always thought Christmas as an overspilling of grace.
Yeah.
You know, like the Second Vatican Council, they teach that the church doesn't have a monopoly on the Holy Spirit, nor on grace. And God makes rain fall on bad men and on good men. Yeah. And I always felt that Christmas has this effect that they may not know, right, that it's Jesus that they're celebrating, or why is it that they feel happy. Right? I mean, we could explain it as the decorations or whatever, but I feel like Christmas is something special. There's an overflowing of what the church celebrates into the secular world. Yeah. Even though they may be celebrating it in a more under the guise of abstract values, right? Peace, happiness, family. But there's overflowing, right, of the values that the church cherishes.
But going back to Leonard's point, why must he himself like send his son come down on earth?
And where's the proof? Like how we
Yeah.
know? How we know for sure that
He was born on that day.
Yeah, no.
Oh.
Not just
Okay, that's not a question. Right?
that he came, you know.
Yeah.
And that this person that came is God. God made man.
I think when it comes to matters of love, you don't send someone else to do it for you. That's what God did. He didn't need to do it. He certainly could write in the sky, I love you. He certainly could have sent messengers, which he did, right? But at the final thing, he came himself to personally 亲自 come. Like he personally come and say, yeah, I'm here with you. I'm not just going to tell you that I love you. I'm going to show you that I love you. And that's the incredible thing about our God, you know. And it's so different from other religions. Other religions offer some sort of a path to your ultimate end, right? For Christianity, it's not a path towards God. It's God comes and find you. He comes to you. That's the mind-boggling significance of Christmas. Like God comes. So if I can sort of like wrap up Christmas in one word, for me it will be the word Emmanuel, like God with us, you know, God coming to us. God is the word we use when we want to try to find Him, you know, seek for Him. Jesus is the word we use when we describe the God that comes and find us, right? And that's what happened at Christmas. He came down to find us.
But where's the proof? You know, like some people might think like, yeah, it's just a nice story that you all want to believe in that, you know, Christmas story of like God come to be with you and then His ministry after that. Like maybe it's like this entire faith, it's just a nice story you want to believe in.
I think sometimes it's also like, I mean, if let's say you're God and God exists in that sense, then I mean, you wouldn't create this whole mess in the first place, right? I mean, what's the point? And when you talk about love, I think what does it look like? Because I mean, if let's say those who go and read on the story, then it's like, you know, you send your son to die. Like, I mean, I
So
think in
cruel.
in the light it's very cruel, right? Like, why would you do that? Like, I mean, if you're God, then don't you have a better way of doing that, right? And then the point about religions leading to God, I mean, it's just like basically you're just weak people. People who are weak then will need a God, right? People who are weak, then they need religions. If not, then they can actually just basically survive on their own and not rely on something that is super like out there and you know. So I think like that is the tensions where they are.
I don't know if it was Fu Shin who said this, but he offered this thought that if you are to judge an institution or a piece of wisdom, you judge it not by those who live far from that teaching, but you judge it by those who live closest to that teaching. So if you look at the lives of the saints, it's very clear the effect of the gospel in their life. Right? They're being called out into, because they have followed Christ. Right? They've been called out of their own selfishness, of their own obsession with the world, and they have lived their lives radically for Christ, and they have lived it in a way that contributes meaningfully back to society, right, to those around them. So I think that's sort of a good way to think about the effectiveness of the gospel. Yeah, that we judge it not by those who are living far from the gospel.
But you see, even then
Those
it's
who are
like
close to
they had to suffer much in order to like attain that holiness, you know what I mean?
Mm.
So it goes back to a question of like, but if you're so good, why must I go through the suffering? Then I can be one with you. Like, why can't you just make me one with you? Since you came to be with me anyway. Like, why are you putting up barriers such that I have to suffer, then we can be like with you in heaven?
Yeah. Often the question that is used against maybe religion in general and Christianity is, if God is good, why is there suffering? But actually God's answer to this is not the removal of suffering, but God came to show us how to suffer, right? The redemption of that suffering act. Right? So again, whether or not we believe in God, we will have to suffer. Yeah. But whether or not we want to make that suffering meaningful, we're not going to find meaning in our current state. And maybe out of that current state, right, look towards a life that actually we all desire in our hearts. When I say that suffering has become meaningful, I think it's best understood when suffering is paired with love. So my wife's father, right, has quite a serious onset of Parkinson's and a bit of dementia as well. Yeah, and so my wife's mother, or my mother-in-law, She spends every day taking care of him. Right? She has to clean him. She has to bathe him and feed him every meal. Right? She has to find something that he can eat because he's no longer has teeth. Right? But you see in this example, in her willingness to love him and to be faithful to her own commitment to be married to him, you see suffering, but you also see, because of that suffering, a very pure form of love. Right? If you were to ask me, compared to a couple who's on a honeymoon, right, whether or not they love each other, I think so. But if you ask me whether or not my mother-in-law loves my father-in-law, it's a yes. It's a very clear yes.
It's
So
a
you
more
see how-
purified kind of love.
Exactly. You see how love has become so powerful and so strong in suffering. And of course, we see that most clearly on the cross. So I think when we understand suffering in the light of love, then it makes sense. But of course, ultimately, we are all called to also, for the saints, their suffering was for God, right? For the fact that they could express their love for God. I remember there was once, I don't remember who said this. I think it was a she. Or maybe the rest of Lizzie or something, but you can go find online. But anyway, she said that when we all get to heaven, we would be ashamed of how little we suffered, and the little that we suffered, how badly we suffered. Yeah, I think it's true. I think when we look upon, when we finally reach heaven and we reach the God who has suffered for our sakes, the only desire in our hearts then is to return that love for Him, right? And so He gives us this opportunity to return that love, which can be
I
right.
feel I'm stuck in like the origin, right? Meaning like when God, for example, designed the world, right? So I mean, we're like our current reality of suffering apart. Yeah, we know that it exists, but the question is more of like in His moment of creation, where He can actually make everything good. There's no suffering, right? And you want to be with us. Why you don't just make it such that we are with you? Like why must create such that okay, there is room for suffering to happen?
Yeah,
Yeah.
He did, but we chose to reject Him.
What do you mean?
So this is the story of original sin. That God created Adam and Eve. He put them in a paradise, exactly as we were talking about. And there was nothing wrong with the world, but it was because we rejected Him, or our first father rejected Him, that we were then thrown into a state where a world that had rejected God, right, the giver of all good things.
I also think to that point, right, like where you were talking about the whole suffering and everything is a reality, right? And so I can understand why people don't believe in God. Because if there is a God, then why wouldn't He do something about it, right? I mean, it's the reality that we all know, right? But yet, like you say that you love, how? How is that being translated to a reality of my life in that sense?
Yeah, and the only consolation that we are offered is I also suffered. I know how you feel. Come and be near me. It just feels very like, too bad. Like your reality is still that you're suffering, right? But I also know. I know how it feels also. So peace. I'm with you.
I get your feeling, and I understand it. I do understand it. Like, okay, in order for me to feel your love, I must go through like you must tekan me. That okay. Then, oh God, you love me. I understand that because I mean that I can relate to that very significantly because that was actually my sentiments just prior to my point of conversion, because that's what that was the exact argument that I had in my mind just prior to me experiencing the love of God. Because I was going through my first breakup, right? And it was the most painful experience that I ever had. And I was, of course, in deep suffering and pain. I never knew that the human soul could experience like no physical pain was compared to the pain I felt emotionally, right? So I remember going to this, happened to walk into this charismatic like prayer meeting, and then I was sitting in the room, and then someone sort of like prophesy. Someone said, there's someone here who is in a lot of pain. Don't worry, God will come and heal you. God loves you. And then someone else also said, there's someone in this room who is in a lot of pain. Don't worry, He will come and touch you. And I was quite shocked, because I'm not into this kind of things, but I was quite shocked, and I did feel like maybe they was referring to me. But instead of feeling like comforted and assured, I actually felt very, very, very angry. I was like, what the heck, man?
Exactly.
You make me experience this love, and then after that, wow, I was so like into it. And then you say, you're a God of love and everything, then you let me experience it. And then after that, you take it away. And then now you got the cheek to come and say, oh, it's okay. It's alright, I love you.
Your pain.
Yeah.
I love you.
Why do you even allow me to experience this in the first place if you are good? Actually, that caused me to actually give up. Give up on my faith because I couldn't reconcile.
Yeah.
Like how could a God of love let me experience so much pain? And if this is what love is, then
I don't want it.
no thanks.
Yeah,
No,
this is form of love.
no thanks. Yeah, and that was my exact experience lah. I didn't feel free. I feel because all my life I believe in like the love of God, right? The experience of God. So
Oh, at that point you had already encountered God in some way.
no, I haven't.
Oh,
that
haven't
was,
yet.
that was really my first. Yeah, I haven't. But I was told God is love.
Oh,
I
okay,
was
so
told
the
God is
knowledge
love.
lah,
Yeah,
the
the
knowledge.
knowledge that God is love, right?
Okay.
Yeah. So when I realized this love is bluff one, it's like wow, it actually wow, tekan you one, I kind of like say if this is what you represent, then I cannot. At the moment when I gave up my faith, I sat in myself in darkness, and I heard a warm voice sort of like call out in my heart and said, "Oh, Leonard, there is still one love that exists in the world. There's still one love." Then I was like, what love? Don't stop. Like don't bluff me, And that voice came, and the voice said, "There's still one love that exists. It's my love. My love for you still exists, and my love will never leave you. My love will never depart from you. Waves can crash over it, winds can blow over it. My love will never leave you." And I had this vision of a huge boulder in the sea, and the waves was crashing against it, but the love of God just remained like unmovable. I think my realization is not that because God is love, He doesn't let me suffer. I think the love that I have experienced in the world is a broken kind of love. A love with jagged edges, a love that cuts and wounds. And because we live in a world that is just like that. But that's not the world that God created. God created a world that is, then like Nick said, He created a world that is good. He created a world that was perfect. But something happened, which end up the world that God created became the world that we created, right? And we created out of our own pride and selfishness and on our own self-centeredness. When we turn away from God, we turn away from our source of our life, and we started creating a world of our own making. The suffering of this world, we look at the suffering of the world and we think it's God's fault. Why did He create a world like that? But I don't know if that's true, because a big part of our suffering in this world is also the world that we ourselves have created. Like our inner worlds create the world around us. So people who are sometimes broken would like hurt other people who are wounded, because their insides are jagged, they wound and cut other people. We create externally what is actually existing inside of us. So imagine the whole world, right? When we are all like walking around wounded, we create sufferings. We create wounds to one another by our selfishness, by our self-centeredness and all that, all the wounds that is within us, our sins and everything. We create this world.
And sometimes I think we just want to have a scapegoat to just put them.
It's God. Why that? Actually, it's us. It's us, right? It's us.
Yeah, but that would make sense if it's like suffering in terms of relationships, right? But like other types of suffering, like for example, natural disasters, health and things like that, then that's when people like, but okay, I don't really have anyone else to blame but God. So for these individuals then, like for example, who's, I don't know, suddenly my loved one is like suddenly dead because of cancer, right? Like who else can I blame? Like there's only one person I can blame, and there's only one way I can rationalize it in such a way that it's like, God, if you are so good, then why will you allow this to happen in my life?
Yeah, I think, I can't really speak for natural disasters, but generally, theologically speaking, we hold to the truth that God intended for the world. Plan A was world to be good, without suffering. and whatnot, and that all of creation was tied, especially to Adam, right? This is a significant truth about his degree of dignity, that he was made to be master of all creation. And so when he fell, actually, theologically speaking, we accept that creation also fell apart. Yeah. But how this works, what's the mechanic? I cannot say for sure. I don't know. Yeah, I think we go to heaven, maybe we ask him. Yeah.
Sometimes it's quite unfair, I feel. Like you tie, like everybody's just tied to that one.
Yeah, right. Why isn't it just tied to this Adam and Eve then? Why everyone else must follow
I
that
was going
route?
to say we weren't born yet, so it's not really our fault.
It's just like they are lah. What has it got to do with us?
It's not our fault.
But anyway.
There's a certain connectedness in the whole world. I mean, from the fact that the essence of God Himself is Trinity. It's not a singular, God person. God in Himself is a connection between three persons. So like I say, right, who we are, we create the worlds around us, right? It applies to us, it applies to God as well. So out of His essence, He creates. So a connected God will naturally create a connected world, right? We are connected to one another. So in the same way, because of how we are created that way, I can also easily hurt you. You can easily hurt me, but I can also easily love you, and you can easily love me. We are connected. We are connected, to creation. Creation is connected to us. St. Paul does speaks about how the fall of man is also connected to the fall of creation as well, and that's why St. Paul says in the book of Romans, whole creation is groaning. It's groaning in like agony and pain, waiting for the sons of men to be revealed. Yeah. Because that's the beginning of creation's redemption, creation's restoration also. Right? So I don't know why it happens that way, but God just connected us human beings with our surroundings, our creation.
Some of my relatives, they are non-Catholics, but then they are actually very, very good people. And so in comparison, I just feel like the question is why do they even need Jesus in their lives if they are really good people, like they for sure will be safe, right? Like they just need to lead a good life, that's all.
I think people often have a bit of a misunderstanding that Christ came to show us how to be good people. Yeah, I think that was part of His ministry, but that's not the full thing. Actually, morality can be found in many, many places. The secular world, that people are trying to live good lives. You can go to any other religion and they'll tell you how to be a good person. But Christ came to be in communion with us, right? This means that we were allowed to know Him, the one true God, and in Him find in Him all truth, all beauty, all goodness. Yeah, so I think when we think of Christianity merely as the moral question, then we are reducing it from what it really is.
But it doesn't seem like they're lacking anything, you know what I mean? Like they all seem happy.
Yeah. And the thing is that they no need to follow all the rules and regulations. Like need to go for mass on Sunday, need to go to catechism class.
Yeah, you must die to self, must love other people.
It's like so much
not
easier. You just
nasty.
live your life and you live a good life. And yeah, that's it. Like why do you need to then follow all these laws and like why do you need another thing to like put in your life? I think to that is like love from God doesn't seem liberating lah. It just seems more rules and more to-dos and you should not do and stuff like that.
We can understand it from the first place in the legal context, right? That when the law prevents us from driving over 70 km per hour on this road, it's not meant to restrict us, it's meant to protect us, right? That's always been the case. So in the case of a relationship, right, when it comes to God's covenant with us, we're asked to go for Mass on Sunday and whatnot and abstain from all the sins. Again, the law is not there to restrict us. God has nothing to gain from restricting us. He remains the same today and yesterday and forever. The laws are meant to protect the relationship between us and God, right? So for example, when we talk about married couple, when they come together, the husband and the wife, they make a pledge, right? That I will be with you, right? Sickness and in health, and whatnot, until my passing day, right? That commitment is not a restriction; it is an expression of love, right? And so whatever else comes out from that commitment, the fact that I'm not to see other people, I'm not to the adultery is off the table and whatnot. All of that, the rules are meant actually to protect that relationship of love. And so it's the same thing with God and our Sunday obligations, that we are called to join the community in prayer and thanksgiving, so that we may experience the joy of knowing Christ in the Eucharist, we may receive Him, and we may celebrate with the rest of the church. Right? So all of these things are again meant to to protect, to enhance, to deepen the relationship that we already have.
But if I was there, I'll be like, I don't need the relationship.
Yeah, I don't need the relationship. Eh? I'm
what's
good
the
on
big
my
deal?
own.
Yeah.
I'm good as a self-made man.
Yeah.
I've never asked God for anything.
Yeah.
Therefore, I don't need His
Yeah.
love. I don't need Him to love me. I'm actually good like that.
Yeah. And like these rules and regulations that will protect me, right? I just establish what would protect me lah. Like this not driving above 70 km. I can establish it myself. What I don't need to take in or adhere to everything you prescribe to me. I just set up my own guidelines that I think will be good for my life.
As long as I'm prudent, I'm objective, I'm wise, yeah, I can.
Yeah, because some people might see it as like the laws are being like pressed upon us, like God is forcing His love upon us.
But the thing is, I don't even need the relationship.
Yeah.
I think it's very interesting. I mean, I agree. These are things that naturally come out of our questions that normally come out of us. It sounds very familiar though to the kind of things that maybe Adam and Eve may have also taught to themselves. And that's just where I guess maybe where the root of at least this particular mentality of basically self-sufficiency. I can do it on my own. Why do I need God? Right? Is He hiding something from me? You know, like how the serpent tempted Eve is why do you need God to tell you what to do? Eat an apple and you can think for yourself. You can know everything. You know, these questions that we are asking, right? Why do I even need it? Goes to the very, very root of actually our problem. We want to live a life that is governed by our own selves. We want ourselves to be the center of our lives, and God becomes an intrusive force in our lives, right? And that is kind of like, that is considered like sin. In fact, that's the first sin, right? That's the first sin. Simply because not because it's morally wrong, but because it kind of like goes against what we were designed for, right? We were designed, God created us for Himself. God didn't need to create us. He wasn't lonely. That's why He created human beings. The reason why He created us was because He was Trinity. He experienced the sense of connection, the sense of love, the sense of overwhelming love between the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit. And it was out of this happiness, out of this joy that he experienced in Himself, that He outpoured into creation. He created creation to enjoy as an extension of his love that He was experiencing. Right? He created all men. So we were already created. All of creation is created. We talk about how all creation is connected, right? So deep in our beings and our DNA, right, we are created to be connected. And so the whole sense of like, I want to be disconnected, I want to be on my own, I want to decide what I want to do. You can already see it kind of like goes against the original design of what God had in mind. So our fullness of life actually comes from being connected to God, connected to His Spirit, connected to creation, connected to friends, connected to family. All these things are what makes life worth living. We are connected in love with one another. And so even if you don't have health, don't have wealth, don't have fame, but when you know that you are loved, you feel alive. So what God came to restore is really at the essence, that relationship, that sense of connectedness that we have with Him. So even if we are like good, right? Like good is not really the issue. Although it's important to be good. I'm not saying that but it's important to be good to the extent that goodness is part of our makeup, our being made in the image and likeness of God. We tend towards good. We do. We appreciate it when things are good. But good is, in some ways, it is the reflection of the image of God in us. But our problem is not that we are not good. The problem is that we are disconnected from God. That's the base problem. We are separated from Him through sin, right? So even if you're 100% good, but at the end of the day, you are not connected to the source of your life. It's like a tree, right? Looks very nice on the outside, but if you remove all the roots, the tree may still be there for a while. But after a while, right, because it's not connected to the source, right, the tree will slowly wither because it's not connected to the source. God is like our source. When we disconnect from Him, we start to unravel. Maybe not now, maybe not the next few months, maybe not the next few years, but the unraveling will take place at some point in our lives. So our key issue that Christ came to fix, in a sense, right, is to heal that connection between us and God, without which we will not have the full life that He intends for us to live.
So is that only the reason why like we need God's love? Is it because like we were made for Him and like He wants to give us His love? Is that all to it?
It's a huge reason,
Like why do we need it?
It's like the reason for our existence.
Like if a fish needs water to survive,
Yeah.
why would it go to the land, right? If our very existence depended upon Him. Yeah. The fact that actually, even if we're not conscious of it, God holds us in existence. Right?
Yeah.
We
And
may live and move and have our being.
I think it's very hard for someone who doesn't believe
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
to see that, because they are existing and they are living
Yeah.
right, in a certain way. And so I feel like at the end of it, if I were to bring this back, and try and tell them, I think it's just like, but that's just your POV. The
Yeah.
truth is that I'm good as I am and I'm connected, right? I'm connected to my friends, my family, my loved ones. Like there is no need for that connection with a higher being.
This is a very difficult situation, right? To encounter people who feel like they don't need God or Jesus. And Jesus Himself encountered many of these people, right, in the Gospels, right? The Pharisees and whatnot. People who felt like they didn't need Him, right, to be righteous or to continue existing. I guess one of the more points, one thing that can attract people like that is really your own happiness, right? The fact that when people look at your life, that they see the joy that you're experiencing, the joy of knowing Christ. He tells us in John's Gospel that this is eternal life, to know you, the one true God, and Jesus Christ whom you sent. Right? The fact that the joy of knowing Christ is so permanent and so profound and fundamental in your life that when people look at your life, they're like, hey, I feel like this guy has found something. Right? He has found something that I don't quite have. Right?
But back to your point, right, about like how we were made out of outflow of like the love of the Trinity. I don't know, like just zooming out, it sounded like, isn't it very self-centered of God, right? That I made you because I love you, but I made you to serve me and to be good, and serve the church, build my kingdom and everything. It's just like, I made you to work for me.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, I agree with you. Yeah, but that's not the picture. Yeah. If that's Christianity, it's terrible.
Actually, that's the picture for the fallen angels, right? They were created, but so in the picture, this is terrible if there's no love. When you're made to serve without any love. And so when Jesus, for example, approached a possessed person, the demon will start to cry out in pain because he is forced to serve and to acknowledge one who is greater than he, to whom he really does owe his authority. But to the saint, to the good angel or to the saint, when they find Jesus, they give to him their entire heart. He is their joy. He is not their cause of suffering. So that's the difference. When there is love, obedience and servanthood is very easy. It is a joy, in fact. But when there is no love, those things become torturous. Yeah.
I feel like some people would focus on that though. The perception is that like not so much the love. I feel like without, I mean, of course these are people who maybe haven't really encountered God, but when they look at the faith, it looks like that. You make me because you say because you love me, but then actually you want me to abide by so many of these things, and you want me to like be working for your kingdom. Like, where's the good God in that?
I think that happens. I mean, it's sad, of course, that a lot of people see the church this way and see the Christian religion that way. But we understand that is not the good news. That is for some reason that's like a fake news, for example. So something that people have come to believe, but it's not the heart of the gospel, right? And that's why it's important for us to keep remembering these things. And Christmas, why we again reinforce the message over and over again that Christ came for you, is precisely because people tend towards towards a explanation of the faith like that, and they believe that God wants to make them work, they want to earn, and he's policing them and all that. And those are all false images of what God is, and that's why Christ Himself came to show us actually what God actually looked like. So it's not what we think God is, God's coming to show you actually this is what I really am lah, And I wouldn't discount that maybe some of your own life experiences and the sufferings that you have gone through have maybe led you to this point. And I think He's compassionate about that. But that's not how He wants to relate to us, even if life has led us to that point. But I can understand that it's very, very difficult to give people something that they think they already have.
Yeah.
Right? So like when Jesus came up to the woman at the well and He said to her, I want to give you life. And the woman says, I already have what? I already have an existence. I'm already living. I'm already this. What you mean you want to give me life? No need. I already have. And in some ways, Jesus said to her, so you think you have a life, but what you have is an existence. And it breaks my heart that you think that there's a life. Right? It breaks my heart that you think that's all life can give to you, right? And he calls that out of her, the thirst that is actually within her, the thirst for love that have led her down to so many broken relationships, searching for this life, searching for something that will fulfill her on the inside, but she can't find it. And God is saying to you, I am the one that can feel that God-shaped hole in your heart that you're going to all this man trying to find, but you just cannot. It doesn't fit because you're not created for that. You're created for me, and only God alone can fill this God-shaped hole that is in our hearts. A lot of people are not looking for God. They're looking for life. They're looking for something to fill them that it seems to be eluding them, and it manifests in different ways. People going to work and finding that, why am I doing this? How come it's just so, I'm just doing this, what's the meaning of this? Why am I here? These existential questions, when we are alone and quiet, like you had experience, it comes out. It will come out for all of us. We can dull it with buying stuff and chasing after stuff, but at some point those voices will go away and you're left to face this existential question. And that's when you realize nothing in this world can answer, and only Jesus can answer that. That's what our faith believes. Jesus came to be the answer. Yeah, but the question has to be asked and that's why Jesus had to say, go and find your husband. And she realized, oh, that's my question. I realized I have been seeking actually, and the answer is right before me. But I can't recognize until I recognize the thirst that is in me. So even though Jesus was asked her, are you thirsty? Do you have something to drink? He was not looking to quench his thirst. He was looking to quench hers.
But going back to your point, Leonard, I mean, you had that nice encounter with God, right? And especially during Christmas time where, the media portrays it as like, oh, very jolly Christmas, there's love around you and everything. But there are also a lot of people who are out there suffering, right? We talk about suffering a lot. For those who are very angry with God because of whatever suffering that they're going through, how can they still, celebrate Christmas?
I think that not to minimize our sufferings. I think we all go through very, very real suffering, whether it's health, whether it's relational issues. I mean, we have all agreed suffering is part of life. It's part of our the world that is at this point of time. It is possible in the human heart to experience more than one emotion, more than one feeling. We are created that way. Maybe you have lost a loved one and you are grieving for that person. But it is possible for the human heart to feel grief, but also at the same time simultaneously also feel like joy and happiness. I don't know whether you experience. I mean, I've seen people like that, who have lost loved ones, who have lost their wives and their spouses, but because of their faith in God, right? There is a joy like beneath that, and somehow simultaneously we can both grieve and still be joyful at the same time. It's like a ship, right? It's on the sea, and the storms are blowing the ship, and the ship's like moving all over the place. But if you look at the bottom underneath, right, the ship is anchored to the ground, and a solid anchor is holding it firm, right? So the top may be all over the place, right, but it's not going to fly away or run away. So that anchor is like this, that joy, you know, that faith in God, that He will take care of us no matter what's happening on the outside. Inside, right, I can still be anchored on the reality that God will never leave me, will never forsake me. Winds and waves can crash against it. That border of God's love will remain strong. I will never go into hopelessness and despair, because God still loves me at the end of the day. So for those people who are experiencing, you know, real suffering and pain, I would say keep that anchor. The message of Christmas, that God is with us, and He'll never leave you nor forsake you. That even in your suffering, He is with us, and there could be a redemptive reason for that suffering, but you're not alone. The worst thing of suffering is if you go through it alone. That's the worst thing in the world. But when you have someone with you, it makes it bearable. Even after I had that experience, that breakup, right? It wasn't that my pain magically dissolved into the joy. No lah. I still took like a couple of months to get over, you know. But now I had the experience of Jesus being with me, loving me, and I drew strength from that. I had 2 more breakups after that, which He did save me from those breakups. One breakup subsequently lasted a year and a half before I got over. But that joy, that being anchored on His love, never left me. I did not fall apart, because my sense of value was no longer attached to whether someone, a human being, loved me or not. I mean, part of it was the loss of that relationship, but the loss of the relationship also came with it the sense of self-worth as well. Is it I'm not worthy to be loved? Is it I will never be loved? No one wants me. I'm alone, you know, and all that. But the sense that no, God loves me, He values me, He sent His Son for me, and that is my foundation, right? I did not fully, completely like fall apart. This may be a momentous, you know, a time of suffering, but I will get through it. You know, I will find someone else, because my identity is not based on this person, whether or not. So that helped, you know, in a big way, actually.
If let's say someone was also in a place of suffering, whether or not it's relationship or not, right? But I don't have the grace of an encounter with God like you did. So how can I then make sense of my suffering, like in light of the season where I'm supposed to celebrate Jesus, right? And I know what the right answer is. Like how am I supposed to make sense of it? What's gonna help me like to find hope? And all that.
I think that's the wonderful thing about why Christmas, we come around one another. Why so much a big part of Christmas inherently is you don't celebrate Christmas alone. I mean, you can, but it's very sad to do so. Christmas is usually a time where we all come together, and that's one of the ways in which God manifests Himself as well in the community, in the family that comes together, and it's a time where we try to remind ourselves to not take our families and the people around us for granted, and we hold. And so that's just one way also that we can experience the love of God, and that's through one another. So those of us who have experienced Jesus now then bring Jesus to those who have not yet experienced Jesus. That's one of my favorite definition of community. a place where people who have not known Jesus can hang out with people who do.
Yeah.
And hopefully in the midst of doing that, you know, you can encounter God. Because my conversion story didn't happen like alone. It happened me walking into a room of people.
But you walked in alone, is it?
I walked in alone. Yeah. I had no idea why. I'm not into the Christian, but I just felt like drawn to it. So I just went in and just sitting with everyone, and God used them to minister to me lah. Right. So that's one way that God. So if you don't have the grace of a personal encounter, that's the Christian community.
But I think sometimes also like in Christmas times we just like be with the people that we know and we love, you know. So I feel like there's also a lot of people who are still very lonely and alone out there, and like we are just in our own cozy bubble and just like yay. Yeah. So I think like that's also like, you know, the juxtaposition, you know, you say that, I mean, coming back, right, God is love and Jesus loves me, and but I think sometimes it just seems so removed from the truth that
It's very hard also, I think, sometimes to find community to be with you, because you also don't want to intrude, right? Like, it's very strange to like, can I attend your house Christmas party, please? It's so odd. Yeah.
I think this is the spirit of incarnation. I think in this season of Christmas, we are all called to be mindful of people who are alone, people who are suffering, people who are sick. Actually, a couple of Christmases back, there was a friend who was hospitalized, a sudden thing. I know he's my age, so he's young and fit. So it was quite a sudden thing. And then he had operation, and then he was hospitalized. And then, of course, I didn't quite know how he was doing. But I mean, when I hear you're hospitalized, I better go and visit you. And it was about Christmas time. I think when I visited him, it was like 27, 28 December. Yeah, so I brought him some chocolate and then this funny gift. But I mean, to me, it's nothing. It's not like I know you're suffering or I just thought, you know, it's Christmas and I might as well. Then when he received these things, then he halfway through our conversation, he started to cry. Yeah, then he was telling me that it's been a very difficult season. Yeah. And then it dawned on me then that it was how important it is to remember people who are struggling, who are suffering. And actually the onus is on us, right? To be mindful of these people. Yeah, we can't save the world, but we can help those around us, right? And every time we do something like this, what we are effectively bringing about is the very real presence of God, right? Each time we manage to find ourselves the heart to love someone who needs to be loved. It is again a case of Emmanuel. Now God is with us, right, in your act of loving and reaching out. Yeah. So I think,
right, that like actually during the Christmas season, if let's say you already normally struggle with loneliness, all the more like it gets heightened during Christmas because
it gets worse.
everyone is busy in their own house celebrating everything, and so suddenly you realize how lonely you are, how much you actually don't have anyone. And I think maybe that's why it really meant a lot to your friend. Yeah, that you know someone thought of me.
So thank you for watching this episode of TBH. Please, if you have any comments or thoughts, put it down below. And if you have any topics that you'd like us to discuss, also put it down below.
like, share, and subscribe, and hit that notification bell.
And here's wishing you all
A Merry Christmas!
There's this lady, like a customer, right, who came, and then I think because I was wearing a crucifix, then she like, you believe in Jesus? Like, how you know? How you know it's real? Like, how you know? So if let's say can you imagine if you go home and you tell your mom, right, that like you're pregnant but you never had sex, you think she'll believe? Well, I don't know, I was just a poly kid. I was like, what do you mean?